Hi everyone, today I'll talk about the two new stocks I've bought. I bought these actually a little bit ago, but I've not been able to record a video saying that I was going to buy them. But if you did watch my last video, you might have, you could tell I was going to probably buy two new stocks at some time going forward and sometime soon. And I actually bought one of them on the day of that video and then one the day afterwards. I can't remember exactly which was which, but the two stocks were Apple and Johnson and Johnson. I put JNJ down just because the ticker symbol is a lot easier, a lot smaller, especially in the title. It's a long title to have Johnson and Johnson in it. So going forward, if you ever hear me say J&J, I am talking about Johnson and Johnson. I'm just going to use the ticker symbol for Johnson and Johnson going forward. That's what's a lot of Johnson and Johnsons. Now Apple itself, I got down at I got into my position at Apple at 15788, and J&J I got in at 12810. Not too bad prices. A little bit good about Apple because as I was recording this video today, it has come out that Apple have cut their guidance going forward, and I've talked about it on this channel before. Whenever you hear companies say we're cutting guidance, we're cutting what we think we're going to earn, it's always a bad thing, and you see the stock move downwards from that news. Any new news that's out there, it affects the company, and that's come out and it's affected big time. To be fair though, Apple's still in a solid place. We knew that this was coming, to be fair. The China trade war is what they basically said that is the cause of it. And hopefully, I'm hoping big time that, there's some sort of deal done between the Trump and the China president going forward. I can't remember exactly when the meeting is. I think it's something like a week's time, the meeting. So hopefully when the meet, they can get some sort of agreement sorted out, and that will be a big thing for us investors, because if that agreement happens, it'll make a big difference to the stock market for this year. That was probably one of the reasons, that and the Fed hikes are the two reasons why the stock market was negative last year. I don't think the Fed hikes are massively affecting the stock market, to be honest with you. I think that's a bit of a overreaction. So every time you hear that mentioned, I won't panic too much about that, because the interest rates are just really low at the moment, and they do need to go up. So I don't think that was too much of a bad thing with the hikes. The trade war itself does affect stocks. It's you could tell last year the amount of earnings that were coming out and saying it's affecting companies. And China's pretty much, Apple said that exactly the same. The China trade war is affecting us. But overall, you look at the company, it's still a great company, really low forward PE. The cash, the balance sheet is amazing, the amount of free cash is amazing, and it's still growing. It's still a good position. iPhones aren't going to go anywhere time soon. You got the service side of the company as well that's still growing massive. Looking at going into the healthcare recently, we've found that they're trying to push that a lot more going forward. So overall, Apple's still in a good position, really big company. And when you look at Apple now going, 5 years down the line, is Apple going to be worth more than what it is today? Of course it is. So the value of the company is going to go up. Basic really. So that's, in my opinion, why I'm holding on to Apple. I'm going to try hold Apple for as long as I can, because I do think right now it is undervalued. I think it should be in the $200 per share range, and it's not there. So it would have to get into that range for me even to consider to sell that stock. So I'm happy with it going down for right now, because if it keeps going down, I might pick up a few more shares. I didn't really have too much of a plan for it to be my main position this year. I always wanted to stay as Microsoft, because as you know on this channel, if you watch it all the time, Microsoft is my #1 company, and I'd like that to stay the biggest position in my portfolio. I would not like Apple to take over it. But if it keeps going cheaper and cheaper and more undervalued than what Microsoft is, then maybe I might have to change. But this isn't a surprise going down overall for Apple for me. I talked about it on this channel before. I said Apple stock will go down at some point because of the iPhone sales drop. You'll get a few nervy investors in there, and it's happened, but it's not the end of the world for the company. It will recover it over the long period of time. Johnson and Johnson, I kind of wanted this year. I want to get a bit more of a diverse portfolio and have a lot of stocks I want to hold for a while. And when I look at Johnson and Johnson, it's a company that's just done so well. The year-over-year growth is still really good. So the EPS is growing, the revenue is growing. So when it had a little bit of a dip a while ago, and it dropped 10%, and then it dropped a little bit more because of some rough days. It was about down 30 13% I think from its 52-week high. And it's a good point to get in because it's one of those stocks that doesn't really have a dip, and when the market is like struggling, it's one of those stocks that doesn't really go down too much with the market. It tends to hold quite high. So it's very hard to buy in a dip in this stock, but that was quite a little bit of a discount in a bit of a correction. So I jumped into that correction, and it's a stock that I'm planning to hold for a while. I don't know if you'll probably hear me talk about selling this stock for a while, but it's a really strong stock, great balance sheet, a lot of free cash. What I also like about it is its history of its dividend growth. I think it's just upped it recently up to now 90 cents per share, which is really good. It's always had a really strong dividend yield. So I am kind of playing it as a bit of a dividend stock really, but I just think overall it just ticks so many boxes as like a value stock, a dividend stock, a growth stock. I think it just has so much going for it that I'd like to just carry on holding it. So those are the two that I've added into my portfolio again, guys. I'm probably looking at buying some more shares going forward into January when I get a few more funds available. I'm currently not sure what I'm going to add into my portfolio. There is a lot of stocks I'm watching, and I'm probably going to talk about in a video like the stocks I'm considering buying, because there's a lot that I could probably buy. But like I say, that probably be like, I probably won't buy any more shares now for a couple of weeks. But when I do, obviously I'll make a video. I'll tell you what price I get in at. And like I say, a lot of the shares are just long-term hold. So I don't know if you'll ever hear me say that I sold these shares, but yeah, I am looking at adding a few more positions in the coming weeks. So I'll let you know what happens with that. That's the video for today, guys. Talk about buying Apple and JNJ shares. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.